I overheard my husband's past and it disturbed me. Backstory. We have been together 8 years, married for 3 with 3 kids. We haven't ever shared our sexual past with each other. My husband was the one who was adamant about that. He says he just doesn't want to know about mine, and he also prefers not to think about his because it doesn't matter, and he doesn't like thinking about women he's been with prior to me. I thought, fair enough. The only details I know about his sexual past are a few girls he's messed around with and one he slept with because he didn't know I knew her. It was awkward. I get that not everyone wants to share, so after we were first together and I would ask him questions he didn't want to answer, I just quit asking. Fast forward to last night. I was in my kitchen washing baby bottles and overheard my husband talking to one of his friends in the garage. They were drinking, and my husband asked if his friend remembered this one particular strip club. His friend said yes. He went on about how one time he got a private room with a stripper and was snorting coke off her tits and out of her butt. I honestly wasn't trying to eavesdrop, but I could hear everything. He went on to talk about fucking a girl in the house we used to live in, prior to us being together, and also having done coke and fucking her for hours, and that she was literally crying and he couldn't even finish, I guess because of the coke he did. Long story short, I guess it disturbed me because he's never opened up to me about these things and has been pretty tight-lipped about his past, so it was kind of shocking to hear. I know if I bring it up to him he will probably get defensive, and I also don't want to sound like I was spying on him or something. I don't really know how to deal with how I feel. I don't keep anything from him, but the fact that he talks so openly about stuff like this to his friend seems weird to me when he won't speak about it at all to me. Why was the girl crying? I guess my concern is why he's reminiscing about his sexual escapades. Are there any other signs of issues within your marriage? I would start from there rather than confront about this. That's a disgusting thing to hear the father of your 3 children say, and if the tables were turned and he posted here about you saying something similar, I doubt they'd tell him to calm down. That's just how the girls talk. Why are some people on this sub justifying anybody speaking about women like this? I honestly do not blame you for being disturbed one bit. He has a family. He needs to leave that shit in the past where it belongs and not fondly brag about getting doped up and fucking women until they cry. He shouldn't be proud of that time in his life. I don't know how you are going to keep cool about overhearing this without him knowing that something is up. I would just come clean about it. Bring it up to him and say that you overheard him, you weren't trying to spy on him. Ask him why he doesn't feel like he can share that with you but can share it with his friend. Make sure you let him know that you want to have a conversation. You're being genuine and you don't want to turn this into an argument. You're not accusing him of anything. So he doesn't want to think about his past, but also wants to reminisce about all the coke he did off and out of her butt? Strippers with his buddy? I'm 7 months pregnant and my child's father's new girlfriend is acting out. I, 27 female, am 28 weeks pregnant with a beautiful baby girl. Her father, 30 male, and I were seeing each other, FWB, for 5 months before breaking it off due to long distance. We live 3 hours away, and some other things. 3 weeks later I found out I was pregnant. This pregnancy was a huge surprise. Multiple forms of birth control was used, but is such a blessing. I and both of our families are so excited to meet her. Him and I have been working on our co-parenting relationship and figuring out how to ensure our daughter has the easiest and best life given our situation. Him and I have always been extremely communicative regarding our issues, problems with each other ever before we found out about the pregnancy. It wasn't until recently where we started to have issues. Early on in my pregnancy he reconnected with an ex of his. Of course he was free to do so as a single guy, but I'm not going to lie, it stung a little bit in the beginning. But there was never any cheating or misleading. I think a lot of women in my position hold onto the hope of wanting to be a family, and hearing it felt like that door was being closed for him, and I've come to terms with us not being a family and I'm okay with that. However, I'd be lying if I said I don't avoid the conversations about her meeting my daughter etc., because that causes him and I to fight. Being pregnant for the first time, I'm not only insecure about myself right now, but I also have insecurities about thinking of another woman being a motherly figure to my daughter before she's even here. I know that I will eventually have to have those conversations, but I feel that until I am confident as a new mom and bond with my daughter myself, I shouldn't have to agree to allow anyone else to. But anyway, that's not the point of this post. I have a small online presence, following, and am slightly public on social media. I have an anonymous forum where people can ask me questions that I can answer. I started to get extremely detailed and specific comments regarding my daughter's father and his new girlfriend, They said her name, which isn't public online. Personal conversations that were had between my daughter's father and I started being referenced. One also told me that my daughter's dad and his girlfriend, her name, were going to take my daughter away from me and raise her. The hosted website offers an IP address. After at least 5-6 very detailed messages, I contacted my family lawyer, one I'm using during custody filings, to ask what I should do. He recommended I hire a network engineer he works with to look into the IP addresses. I'm pretty sure he thought it was my child's father and wanted everything documented. God forbid anything happened in the future. You can't get too much information from an IP address. However, after a few days he came back with some information. The IP address is tied to a company server not of my child's father but of his girlfriend. Apparently she works from home at least part of the time, so she has a secured network she signs into. It's been a few days and I don't know how to process this information. My daughter's father has mentioned previously that his new girlfriend was jealous I was having his first child, and I understand that it is a very complicated situation. However, I also feel that it is extremely malicious and ill-intended to tell someone who is pregnant some of the things that she allegedly said. I know I can't confirm it was her 100%, but my gut is telling me it is, and I don't know how to approach my daughter's father about it without coming across as the jealous one looking to start problems. As it can't be 100% proven, it would be my word, proof against her word, and it puts him in a difficult situation. I am really distraught over what to do, as if I do bring it up to him. My lawyer advised that I keep it to myself and have everything documented on file with him, as it is, just in case I need to protect myself and my daughter in the future. However, that makes me feel like I am hiding something from my daughter's father just to use against him in the future. As of right now, if it is her, and that's how she feels about me, my daughter, then I don't want her involved in my daughter's life. Pregnancy is such a delicate time, and to go out of your way to hide behind an anonymous post to intentionally try and hurt me during my pregnancy isn't okay. Any advice would be greatly appreciated. Lawyer's advice is probably best, but really keeping it quiet doesn't take away that information for future use. It really sounds like something he should be aware of. Not directly from you, though. HDE might act defensive rather than taking it to heart. If you have a mutual friend or family member you get along with to spill the beans. If he's as excited for this baby as you say, he shouldn't want someone around her that is maliciously trying to create drama. This baby should be surrounded by love, and her intention is not that. Having a bonus mom can be a great thing if everyone is on board for loving the child and doing what's best for the child. She's not it. Show him the messages without pointing any suspect, and tell him you are going to hire a lawyer and if necessary involve the cops to investigate the origin and take all the measures to protect your son. Watch his reaction. He will be defensive, but be clear that if you think it was him you wouldn't be having that conversation and instead you would be talking to your lawyer. Probably he will deduce the obvious and put his girlfriend under control. Wow, that's scary. I know you should follow your lawyer's advice, but I would personally tell your child's father what she wrote and that you tracked it back to her IP address. Don't let on that you can't 100% prove it. Tell him she's not going to be in your daughter's life if she continues to make threats. Also, as soon as your daughter is born, file for full custody. Your lawyer has given great advice. Hopefully she will continue to F up, and your custody agreement would include she has no say in raising your child and is not permitted to be unsupervised with your child. Baby daddy may be horrified to find out all she did, since it may limit his visitation. So let her keep adding nails to her coffin. Look, I don't want to freak you out, but something else you should look into is how why babies and children are harmed by a parent's partner because of jealousy. There are so many stories. One is my own friend's adopted daughter, whose case was so bad it made the news in my country. Shaken baby. It was the mother's new boyfriend, not the father of the baby. But there's plenty of cases where it's been a new girlfriend. Also, with what's been said, there's a huge risk of parental alienation. Or kidnapping. Or any other stupid games this woman decides to play. Follow your lawyer's advice, but bring up fears about the above. Okay, personally in your shoes, I would send this information to her company. Let them deal with it. Then she will either keep her mouth shut or flip out, and then you have a perfect reason for keeping her away from your baby, and it has nothing to do with dad. I dealt with something similar with my partner. A crazy woman he used to work with accused him of all kinds of things, that I had video evidence of them not being true. She did all this shit on company time. I sent it all to the head of HR at her company and got her fired. And before some try-hard comes at me for ruining this idiot's life, the woman I got fired and this asshole girlfriend. They want to deal with personal shit on company time. They don't need to keep their job. Should I tell my ex-BF's mum the real reason we broke up? I, 23 female, was with my ex, 23 male, for 2 years. We got engaged after a year of dating. We dated for 3 years before but had broken up for 2 years before getting back together. I called off the engagement and left him last November because he'd gotten really emotionally abusive and manipulative. A few months before he proposed, I found out that he'd cheated on me while on a night out drinking with his friends. I confronted him about it and he swore blind it was just because he was drunk and he didn't even want to. He said it was saw and I believed him, silly me. And I did my best to be there for him. Fast forward to last month. I had to go and have my coil changed, and when they do that you get tested for STIs. My test came back positive for one. I was livid as he was the only person I'd slept with in the last 2 years, and I got tested before we got back together and I was clean. I told him about it, mostly because I was mad ASF, but also so he could get tested himself. He told me that he knew he'd had it but had sorted himself out with antibiotics and thought I wouldn't have caught it off him. Idiot clearly didn't think this through as he recaught it off me since I didn't know. Because I'd had it for so long, my doctor recommended checking my fertility as it might have affected it. It had, and I can no longer have children, which was heartbreaking to hear as I have always wanted them. His mum messaged me recently and was rather upset as he has told her that I cheated and gave him an STI. I haven't responded to her as I don't know what to say. Do I tell her the truth? Do I just leave it? Update. I just thought I'd make something clear as there's been a couple similarish comments. I'm not asking for advice for me here. I know the truth of what happened and for me that's enough. I just didn't know if it was worth telling her and her then having to deal with knowing what her son did, or if it was better to leave it as it is. Knowing him the way I know him, she will not be the first person who has heard this narrative from him. As much as I am upset that my friendship with her will now be tainted by this, I don't want to upset her by telling her if I don't need to. He has very much made his bed and I do agree he should face what he's done, but he and I know the truth about what really happened so he can spin his stories to his heart's content. Update. The one you've all been waiting for, guys. I met her for coffee, her suggestion. I asked her to tell me what he said and he told her that I cheated throughout the whole relationship and he caught me with one of his best friends, said best friend backed him up. He said that he went and got himself tested because he couldn't trust me when I said I was clear and that he got his positive for the clap, fucking asswipe. He also had the gall to tell her that I was physically abusive and he was scared to leave me for so long. I started laughing because I just couldn't believe it. I told her that's not what happened and none of that is true. I told her everything that I wrote in the post and showed her the evidence to back it up. I also told her about the times where he manipulated, gaslighted me into sleeping with him. To put it bluntly, she was horrified. At the start she said she didn't believe me, but she kept asking to see the screenshots of our conversations and of my results and then started apologizing for not believing me and for not knowing that any of this happened. I don't know what she's going to do with all the information, but that's none of my business. I just want to thank you for all of your advice. I did show her this post along with some of the comments and my responses. She agrees with seeking legal advice and has given me the names of some lawyers I could speak to. Honestly, the best possible outcome this could have had. You tell her the truth. And you also say that it's been a devastating period learning of his cheating, lying and manipulation, and it's not something you're up for discussing. The last thing you need is some drawn-out triangulation between you, the mom and ex. He doesn't deserve to look like the hurt puppy. Expose him for the pos he is, but also don't roll in the mud with them. Just like Saw, if he gets away with it this time, he'll be likely to do it to someone else. But if the mom knows the truth, then hopefully someone can hold this asshole accountable. Normalize telling mothers the truth about their dusty-ass sons. First off, go see a lawyer. His negligence resulted you being infertile, you just might have a case to sue him for damages. He was told by the doctor that he needed to have all of his partners notified when he was diagnosed. I'm not a lawyer, but I think you have a very good case. Even if the lawyer doesn't think you can sue him, have him write a letter telling your ex to cease and desist defaming your character by telling people that the op cheated and gave him an STI, when it was exactly the opposite. If he doesn't stop and tell the truth, you will be suing him. Remind him you have lots of proof that he was the cause. Send a copy to him and his mother. That should do it. Please tell her. This breaks my heart. How messed up can someone be to just not tell their sexual partners about their STI? Tell her the truth. I'm sorry about all that's happened. He caused you permanent fertility issues. Burn him to the ground. Dad body shames my mom and it makes me uncomfortable. I feel pretty uncomfortable when my dad complains about my mom's appearance to me. He nitpicks things and attacks her viciously for it. He's also far from perfect. Today he complained to me that her arms look terrible and she should cover them up despite it being 90+ degrees. He said he wishes she would do something about it and he would pay for it to get fixed. He honestly looks disgusted when he talks about her. He has made these comments to her face too. I know because she got upset and insecure. She already has an eating disorder and is underweight. Why attack her more? Because he doesn't care and thinks he's superior for some reason. Not that it matters, but none of his complaints are justified and I have no idea where these delusions come from. Call me crazy, but I think it's pretty inappropriate to make comments about your wife's body to your child. Sometimes he'll say things to me like that she doesn't look that bad or she looks pretty good. It just comes off as weird and like he thinks he deserves better or something. When he brings stuff like this up I want to react really angrily, but I just try to avoid it. I feel uncomfortable more than anything. How can I make him stop this? If he feels such disdain and hatred for her I wish he would just leave. Oh honey, it is time. Time for a massive call out. What a douchebag. And you have every right to flip the fuck out. What on earth is this? Build a bitch? If he doesn't like your mom's outlooks he can leave. Get a different wife. Even though I doubt this will ever happen because no woman would ever bear with his sorry ass. And you need to talk to your mom as well. This is emotional abuse. Your mom is being abused, right in front of you. I know you're the child, this is not your job to fix. But at this point, you are very much able to rip your father a new one. You just need to do it. Gather your bravery and tell him to fuck off. Hell yeah, I would scalp this man. Your father is a loser. He's really telling you shit like this about your mom as if it's normal. What the fuck, I'd be livid. I hope your mom is well, but with a husband like that I decay. Do you have a good relationship with her? I hope at least she knows that someone in that house loves her for who she is. OMFG. The best you can do is say something like, "Mom looks great just as she is. If you keep talking bad about mom to me I will leave the room and you'll be talking to no one but yourself. I will not actively engage in a demoralizing and insulting conversation about the woman that gave me life. After you move out. That's pretty screwed up." What about a reply like, "That's really rude. My mother is beautiful." I'd really focus on the second part because it sounds like he's forgotten that he's your dad and he's disrespecting your mom. Your father is abusing your mom, and you, it seems so, reading your comments. You ain't Jason Momoa, old man. In fact, she looks better than you do and you are punching well above your weight. You better learn to appreciate and respect my mother or we are going to have problems. That body he is shaming created him a family. That body gave him you. He should be worshipping the ground she walks on because without that body he has no family.